how do you get the most out of this conference, right? There's so much things you're going to learn. So I'm going to do a very simple action with you guys, okay? I want all of you, again, to raise your master hand. Okay? Try to reach the ceiling as much as you can. Try to reach the ceiling. Good. Go all the way up, stretch, really want to see some effort. Good, now keep your hands there, keep your hands there, keep your hands there. Now, later on when I ask for volunteers, I ask for people to participate, you do this. You do this. I want to ask a question, I want to be on stage, I want to do something, I want to do this, right? I guarantee you, you're going to get the most out of today's program. So without further ado, let's give a big round of applause for our wonderful panelists. Let's invite them on stage before I introduce them. All right, so this is the theme for today, which is how do you build a network of fans that help you go the extra mile. We want to start you guys off with connecting. How do you connect successfully? Now, there's a reason why we handpick all these people. I think the first reason is because they hold very high leadership positions in their organization, and that only means to say that they must know a thing or two about handling people, managing people. The second reason why I invited them is because they each represent a different sector, which I will explain also. I think the third one is the most important reason. That's how usually we pick our speakers. We pick our speakers out of generosity. I've attended a lot of business conferences. We have a lot of big names on stage, but people always give you textbook answer. Do you realize that? Right? It's textbook answer that won't help you at all. I've already prepped them. They're going to tell you the truth. Again, like I said, it's going to hurt you, but it's going to release you as well. They're going to tell you how to play the people's game. All right, so we're all going to tell the truth, right? Put your hands on your heart. No. Okay, so allow me to introduce you. Of course, I always start with the lady. All right, she is really charming and charismatic today. Her name is Miss TYY. She represents the sales professionals. She's the director of sales in Wharton International Group. By the way, this is something interesting to note. She joined in 2007 with no sales experience. No sales experience at all, but was promoted 4 times in 6 years. Now she is actually leading more than 100 people, and the team actually contributes 50% of the revenue of the organization in Singapore. That's huge responsibility on your shoulders. That's amazing, all right? Oliver. And he represents the business owners, the tauques, and the entrepreneurs in the room today. He's the former GM of HP Consulting and Education Services across Asia, Pacific, and Japan. And of course, after 25 years of corporate experience, he decided enough is enough. He wants to fulfill his dream, and so now he becomes his own boss, his own tauque, in IT consulting. But that's just his formal profile. I know him since I was very young, 20 years old. Why? Because he's from my faculty. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, everybody adores you, partly because he's from HP. Everybody want to work for HP back then, right? And he's somebody that's very active in the alumni group right now. He actually represents the computing students in the alumni. So, a lot of things we're going to ask you about how he managed the alumni. The third one, Ronald, very good-looking guy over there. He represents, as you can tell, the way he looks, corporate, right? He represents the corporate group. He's the ED, Executive Director with UBS. It's one of the global financial institution. He's responsible for leadership and talent initiatives at APAC region, globally responsible for Managing Director Development. On a personal level, he's actually going to publish his very first book this year in November or December? December. And the book is going to be titled Career Conversation. So basically, he brought 20 professionals, including himself, to share career stories for young professionals and students on how to succeed in their career. So, do check him out. And of course, our next gentleman over there, he is from the public sector. So you see, we represent everybody, right? He is Mr. Lee Jing Hui. As you know, he's from LTA. He's the Deputy Director of Human Resource. And do you think I'm qualified to work in LTA? You sure? You're just being nice. He's responsible for all the people development program in LTA, and he's really good at what he does. In fact, just last year, he was awarded the Capita Award for Best HR Manager at the HRM Award, which is a very prestigious award. So he must have done something right for him to win that award. So we're going to find out in a short while. And of course, I leave you to the last, you know why? Because I got something interesting I want to share about him. Now, the key we want to learn today is connecting. So I must invite somebody from BNI. BNI stands for Business Networking International, right? And he's from the Singapore group. And by the way, I'll let him introduce BNI and all that. Do you realize he looks very familiar? I'll show you, okay? Do you realize this? Seriously, I think, sir, having you, it's a great honor, no? Tell me, are you in any way affiliated with him or not? So we have, an important leader. And I later must take a picture with him, okay? All right, the younger version, a more good-looking version. So, by the way, he is in his 10th year in BNI Singapore. He mentors 5 chapters in the Eastern region. And just 2 days ago, he launched a new chapter chapter, sixth chapter called BNI ASEAN, where they link all the ASEAN people in Singapore together. So it's amazing campaign and movement that he's doing. By the way, before we start, I got another question to ask the five of you. Does anyone know this person? The background story, I got an email from this lady after I announced my panelists. She said, honey or dear, you are the best among the panel and you look the best too. And we have no idea who's this lady. Are you related to Marie Tan? Is that your wife? You look like you know, you shouldn't know if your wife is here, right? Okay, never mind. That means it must be the evening panel, but it feels very sweet to do that. So ladies and gentlemen, could you please join me and give them a big round of applause again? Thank you. Now, Ron, I want to start with you because you are the guy that's writing a book, right, on career conversations. So, how important, we mentioned a concept later on called influencers, which means people with huge network, people who are powerful. How important are influencers to a person's career?
Morning. I know, Eric, you're a big fan of checking on root words. So being a good student of yours, I also did my homework this morning to check what is the root word of influence. Would you be interested to find out? It comes from the Latin word called infura. And in short, it talks about flowing in. So for me, when I think about flowing in, it sounds like water, isn't it? And influence is like water. If you think in Chinese, we said, 水能载舟,也能覆舟. So water moves things along, and to me, I think influence is exactly like this. And influences are the boatman that moves you along in your careers, in your life, in your connections. And I think in some ways, influences are highly important. If I think about some of the early influences in my life, I think of my father. My father was a hawker, and as young as I would, on holidays, I would work at his canteen. It was at Pasir Panjang, a factory canteen. I used to dread it in holidays because everyone would have their chance to go on holidays, but I would have to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I have to take the bus to the canteen, and I have to help around. I have to walk around as big a hall like this with 300 people and say, kopi, kopi si, coke. So I hated it. But I realized as I look back, it was the earlier influences from my career and my life, because all that interaction with adults at a very young age helped me to shape my personality. It helped me to be very comfortable with people very early in my life, and it settled the foundations of why I started working with people, interacting with people, and influencing people at the same time. So I would say early influences are there, and then later on in your career, there would be a lot of influences. I think the danger is to think of having only one influence, because I think at different stages, different influences would be. And if I stand the stage representing a corporate person, I think you would know, if you're a corporate person, that in many multinational companies, it's a matrix organization. You would have a local boss, you have a functional boss, you might have a regional boss. You have a couple of bosses. And if you think that only the one that sits in the office in Singapore is the chief influencer, you are dead wrong. That sometimes the functional view, the global view, the regional view are all important. So you really have to work through how do you work through all these influences and impact them so that they can impact your career at the same time.
Got it. And Jin Hui, can I check in with you? You have been really stellar in your career. I've seen you grow. I know him during the Tetra Pak days, right? And he's rising in LTA. Is there an influencer in your career that has been grooming you and guiding you to be successful?
All right. I have several mentors in my life as well. One person I particularly like to cite is he's also a panelist in Eric's very first Charisma Academy. His name is Hong Kok Leong. So he's a real great guy, and he taught me several things in life. And I would just take this opportunity to share with everyone. First thing he taught me is really care for others. What is genuine care? We don't see people as simply instruments to help us achieve our KPIs, but as partners where we grow together and we achieve business and corporate results together. The next thing he shared with me is humility. I wouldn't say I'm really that successful, but one of those key lessons I learned is this. In LTA, the majority of the deputy directors and above are in their 40s. So you have one young punk who is in his 30s. Okay, I know I look older than I am. But the important thing is that we have to really show respect and understand the context of many things that has been our more experienced colleagues have said. In this way, we gain a lot more understanding of the context and, of course, a lot more cooperation. Of course, we also gain the benefits of their wealth of experience as well. And, of course, more importantly, acceptance. Other things he actually shared with me in Hong is really the tenacity to do things. I was from a manufacturing industry before joining LTA, and at the point in time, things weren't that good because it was at the midst of the subprime mortgage crisis, and you know that Singapore was hit to a certain extent in that area. So people were retrenched and all that, but our company stood firm. We did not retrench anyone. In fact, we hired more people, but because of several things that we have done. First of all, we have grit and tenacity. We instill a lot of discipline in the things that we do, and in the end, many of the world's global production was shifted to Singapore, and Singapore being a small, tiny nation, but yet we have produced 10% of the world's global output. And that's something that's really spectacular, and they showed that over and over again that Singapore has the capacity to punch way above its weight because we simply care for our people. And perhaps charisma, I must say charisma is definitely one important ingredient in making that happen.
You see, from the two of you, you can clearly tell that influencers are important, right? But I guess a lot of us have this question, which is how do we connect with influencers? Because they are, again, like busy professionals, they're at your level, and if I'm just an executive or manager, how do I woo the five of you? If let's say today, we want you guys to be our influencers, how do we woo you? Oliver, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Eric has been very kind in many ways, as you can tell, right? I must say that many of the things that he say here are highly complimentary, and sometimes he puts you in a position whereby you really have got no choice to do some things for him, right?
Oh, really?
This thing about influencing is a very interesting topic. I guess right down to the age where you're young, as a baby toddler, you also want to influence. Questions how you do it in different ways, right? One is to cry and call for attention, right? And over time, you send that signal that tells the other party that you want help. But as you move on into your career, as many of you will be, I guess, in your early career, there are probably a few things that you want to watch out for. You know, I watched that video earlier. I thought it was pretty good, especially the person who talked about, you know, the view and the picture in the office. That is a very important starting point, association. If you can find one way of associating with the person you want to influence, right, and connect with the person through that, you have the first link. Now, today we are also lucky. The information is all out there. You go and Google somebody's name, you get an association very quickly. I remember about 10 years ago when I left HP and I joined a software company. The first day I joined the company, I was asked to fly to Australia, Melbourne. Why? Because they wanted me to meet my new team, my new management team. And I landed at 8 p.m., whizzed into a management meeting that overran. And as I walked in, before the VP introduced me into the team, I get murmuring in the room, oh, that's him, yeah, I Googled him, and I knew what he does and where he came from. Geez, you know, today's technology allows you to connect very quickly. And you can do that, you know, if you need to go to somebody, find out about the individual first.
Got it. Thank you.
The second is really how do you align? You know so much of this individual, what makes you click with him? You have to find that common space, all right? If you have not found that common space, you have not done enough homework. Find that common space. There must be something in common. Either they went to school together, your kids go to school together, either, you know, somewhere along the line you went to a particular place of visit together, holidays, you know, you love the Greek holiday vacations, you like Korean food, something. There must be something that connect you together. Find that alignment. Once you can find the association, the alignment, you are in for a good discussion. I'll tell you the rest later.
Wow, okay, it's very nice. So you got to make sure you catch up with him. Now I want to pass the microphone to YY. And YY, you know, in Wharton you probably deal with a lot of high net worth individuals, people who are rich, cash rich, but also wary about salespeople, right now. So how do you attract these influences to your life?
Okay, when I first started in my career, I was very afraid to approach high net worth people because no one taught me how to score with high net worth people. And later on, I learned this. The high net worth people, they are just as human as all of us. They have weaknesses, they have problems, and they have emotions. So you need to remove that fear from your mindset and know that they are just like you. And in fact, they are very open towards salespeople because they are not afraid to be closed. They have the spending power and they want to buy from people. But for you to connect with them, you need to remember three things. You need to first know how to relate with them at a higher level. Second, they expect good service from people. So they have the dollar to pay, but they want good experience from you. Third, their time is expensive. You got to simplify things for them and make it as hassle-free as possible. That's it.
Thank you. That was very useful tips, right? And how about yourself, Mr. Tan? Okay, you're from BNI.
Yes.
And maybe you can give us a big picture first. What's the value of networking? How has networking helped your members? We start with that.
Thank you. Listening to all the panel speakers, I feel so humbled, because I don't have that kind of accolade. And people can't Google. You Google me, you can't see me.
No, you see Tony Tan.
and there's another person who look like me. So I think I'd like to introduce myself in a BNI context. I actually learned a lot about influencers. I actually learned from mentors, a lot of mentors who don't know that they are my mentors. I pick up tips and also habits from people who are more successful. And when I came to BNI, I realized that it's a wonderful place to start your business and to be able to represent yourself. So BNI is about bringing business owners together to form a team. We call this a chapter, with the rule that there's no duplicates allowed. So in this way, you monopolize, but you give quality. If you can't honor quality, no more referrals for you. So we generate referrals for each other every week. We work hard for each other so that in the end, you give, somebody will get. So that is a very holistic, very nice idea, but provided everybody is committed to each other. So this formula has worked for 27 years, and in Singapore, we are 13 years old. So like what Eric said, I actually formed a new group called DNA ASEAN, because you can't allow another trade to come in when there's a duplicate, right? So ASEAN is now spelled AZEAN, because you don't want to infringe on the copyright, the trademark, So AZEAN, and we meet every morning on Wednesday. So talking about how do you, the value of a network. It's about, there's a lot of words that I can use, but I thought about it for a long time. Yesterday, I think I was given a hint of what this is about. But I think at the end of the day, you want to garner support. You want to be supported. So like some of the things have been spoken, like, you're not the best person in the product or service that you offer. But people choose you, why? Because they are your friend. They like you. And not only that, they want to support you. And that makes a difference. And so by the BNI method, we have this acronym called the VCP process.
V what?
VCP process. So first of all, if you want to start connecting and to be supported, you must start by being visible. Visibility is key to all things. So the V is very important. So how visible could you get? Be there, be present, be there at any function, any events that you can get your hands onto. Of course, if you're smarter, after a while, you go to specific events. So be there, give a name card, be known, and to grow your contact space. The second part is a C. C is for credibility. How do you generate credibility? By talking. So when we in BNI meet people, we are earnest in wanting to speak to people. So when you come in at the door, I'll be looking at your eyes and wanting to talk to you, but are you looking at my eyes? Many of us will just swing to the table. Oh, my friend is there, and they go on to the friend, and then they start a closed door meeting by themselves. So that's where you are not connecting. So you ought to change yourself first, to be willing to meet somebody, and then say, hello, my name is so-and-so, and start exchanging name cards, and ask a few questions, be interested, and see if there's a common ground. If this person is going to be an influencer, you saw that, you can then start to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And in BNI, we have got this thing called the sales manager pitch. We train you on how you can say a few things for yourself in a short and crisp message to arouse curiosity, to throw perfume, throw aroma. Okay, say you are Kevin Klein.
I will make sure he share with you that today, okay?
And then you say, wow, what was that? So you left a fragrance behind. So things like...
oh, you smell good, man, no wonder.
No, it's how I appear to you. If I dress right, I dress smart, I dress as though I'm ready for business, the words I say, for example, if in BNI we have got different traits, right? So there's these few people who touch me when they say things like this. Oh, hi, I'm in Ayurvedic massage. Ayurvedic spa. Let my fingers do the talking. I bring you to seventh heaven. Whoa. I don't even know your name, but I know that you're seventh heaven, you know? Or a beautician may say things like that. I am your friendly beautician. In the morning, when you wake up, look at the mirror, think of me. Because why? You don't like how you look, right? So you think of me, please, because I'm your beautician, I'm your help. So we teach members how to represent themselves, their personal branding, because you may not think of the seventh heaven thing as your thingy, it could be something else. So your personal branding is important. What you say, how you leave a fragrance behind. That is how we try to teach our members. And we also acknowledge this, not everybody wants to buy from you. You cannot have all the people in the audience to buy from you. There probably out of 100, 3 will come to you, and you should be happy. So be confident about yourself. Don't be afraid of competition. Oh, there's another beautician there. Oh, there's another massage spa there. Don't worry about it. People buy from you because they like you.
What about B? Because you said VCB, right?
The P is
Oh, P.
profitability. So I like to train my members and say, you know, you stretch your hands up high. Can you do that? High. Make a V, okay? So the distance between your palms is the number of, the distance, the amount of people you want to know. 1,000, 2,000, but not everybody be your friend, right? So at your elbow level, it's a smaller distance. So only a handful will become your friends. So when you go networking, go often because you will see the same guy or girl that you met before in another event. Hey, there you are. No, we met before, and that time we spoke once. Now we speak the second time. By the third time I meet you, we are friends already. Right? So therefore, you must always be there. And then when you establish rapport, the credibility comes in when, in BNI, we call this helping. How can I help you? Our philosophy is giver's gain. So try to think of a way to help the other person. So besides your name, what you do, who are your clients, and what is your ideal referral? How can I help you? We ask this question. People are always delighted when you talk about them, right? It's not about you. It's about you and not about me. You. How can I help you? And I say, oh, sure, I'm looking for this. Oh, I know this person. Can I connect you? Can we have a dance card next week? Can we meet again? I want to clarify a bit more. This time is not enough for us. Let's talk more so that I can help you. So when you are in the business of helping people, you will get help back also, right, in the end, but not so hurry. Yeah? We help people more, and that's where your credibility comes in, and you have a bunch of people who wants to help you. And in BNI, we call this a chapter, the team that works for you. We are committed for each other. And the P is profitability. You look at the ice cream cone. It's the smallest at the tip, right, at the mouth where you lick all the ice cream. So how much ice cream do you want to lick depends on how fat your cone is, isn't it? So stretch your arms further, meet more people, your C will become bigger, and then your P will become more. So that's our principle of life. VCP, if you can pick this up, if you can forget everything I say, just remember VCP today, you will do very well.
Interesting. Let's give the panel a big round of applause for... You know, I told you no whole bars, right? They just share. Now, at any point in time, if you have questions, just raise your hands, okay? And I'll come to you. So I have a whole list of questions here. I want to ask a topic that a lot of conferences don't handle, don't talk about, and that is difficult people. Do you all agree that there are a lot of difficult people? Yeah, every conference we ask, do you have difficult people? They say yes. And if we done the whole world, everybody say there's difficult people, and you wonder where are they, right? Because everybody say they are. So I want to ask something about handling difficult people. You know, what if I have a boss who is difficult to manage, right? He doesn't like me. I mean, I've tried creating common ground, I tried being visible. He just simply doesn't like me, maybe because of chemistry or what. How do I make sure I can still succeed? Does anyone want to take up that question?
I would say, okay, let me just share one real example that I had. I used to be from the manufacturing industry, as mentioned. Before joining the manufacturing industry, I was with the banking industry. So when I first joined this industry, I had to go through 4 rounds of interview for this company, and one psychometric assessment, one assessment center and 4 rounds of interview. The last round of interview was by the managing director. Managing director was an expatriate, and English is not his first language. Portuguese was his first language, and we could hardly understand what each other is saying. All right, so initially what I was told is that he didn't find me suitable for the job, and his plan was to get someone from his home country in Brazil to take up the job that I was actually occupying. But 2 other mentors who really thought that I should be taking the job convinced him otherwise. So I took on the job. For the first 6 months, it was really difficult because as we meet and talk, I could hardly understand what he's talking about and all that. And he probably couldn't understand me because he felt that I talked too fast for a Singaporean. So eventually, I kind of say, okay, great, but let me just find out and delve a little bit deeper of what is important to this ex-boss of mine, this MD of mine. So I kind of found out that he is, first of all, being a Latino, he is very expressive. So that I will have to accept. So when he's happy, he's very happy. When he's upset, he won't hide it as well. But what really matters to him are KPIs and measurable KPIs, not just quantifiable ones, but measurable ones. I'm in the HR line, so The real challenge is that how can I make sure that everything I do in the HR function can be measured in quantifiable terms and translated into actual business results. For example, if I hire X number of people, does that end by saying that I can hire X number of people by within a certain short lead time? That's not good enough. It should be I've hired X number of people, and then that translated into X percentage of increment in terms of productivity. So once I understand what is working in this ex-boss's mind, I began to speak his language. Notwithstanding the fact that we couldn't understand each other as well, that's why I decided to spend more time interacting with him over emails. And that kind of worked wonders. So after 6 months, he kind of found that, okay, you know, I'm really suitable. So he actually went on to another company. He wanted me to go along with him, but I chose to go to LTA instead. So that was it. So never give up. Understand what appeals to the individual, and I believe that will be the formula that will work for
Fantastic.
most of us.
Thanks, Junhui. The rest of you, any other difficult bosses that you have to
So I think
handle?
in terms of difficult bosses, you have to think about two things. Is there a conflict in personality? Either sometimes you're very different and there's a conflict, or sometimes in some strange ways it's very similar. And opposites will attract, and you will know like will repel. So sometimes personality has an element of it. The second is power. And when you have a difficult boss, sometimes is there a conflict of power? Does he feel threatened by you? I think in my corporate history, I've been really lucky to have great bosses. In about 2009, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I had a challenge with my bosses. As you well know, in 2008 and 9, the financial industry was going through a lot of turmoil. UBS was one of them, and we went through a lot of restructuring. And I had an interesting situation where I had one of my peers, who was a colleague of mine, through the restructuring becoming my boss. And some of you who may have gone through this situation when your colleague becomes a boss, it's an interesting situation. If he likes you, life becomes easier. If he doesn't like you or he's threatened by your power, then it becomes quite challenging. And for my case, it was a bit of a latter. He was probably a bit threatened by me. We used to be colleagues. I probably wasn't very happy because I think I deserved that position. And so it was a very difficult year where we had to work together. He was micromanaging me. He was overlooking what I had to do. And I think for me, the tricky part for me was to really hold my ground. There were chances that I thought I wanted to quit. This is not the firm for me. But I thought to myself, then I would have lost the challenge to myself. And I think when you have a boss like this, you have to think and find a niche that you own and you are the subject matter expert of, that your boss cannot move into. And that way, he also knows your boundary well enough to respect that space that you have. Unfortunately, I think I did. The long and short of it, I stuck in it for a year. I really worked at working with him, updating him, and making him know that as much as you're micromanaging me, I'm in charge of that space, and I'm also updating you of what happens. The long and short of it, through another restructuring, he got sent back to Switzerland. I took over his job. I got promoted. And after that, I found out he got retrenched. So there's a happy ending after all.
Well, for you, right? I think that also speaks of tenacity, which is something that Jinhui brought about, that I think sometimes when you deal with difficult people, there will always be difficult people, but sometimes it's not because the person is difficult, but because we do not have the skills to manage that person. And if you can just hang in there, you know, we might become a better person out of it. How about you?
Let me add on.
Yeah.
I think what it takes to deal with difficult people really is present in you today. And the important piece to know here is belief. Do you believe? Right? Now, the fact that you're here, like what Eric said, you're probably 1% that's going to make it out of the rest, right? You believe in yourself, you know you want to get something out of it. So, difficult people or not difficult people, difficult boss or not, believe in yourself, know what you want. So, if I meet a difficult boss, I ask myself, do I bother? Do I believe in myself? Let me tell a story. Somewhere in my career, I was headhunted to run an Asia Pacific operation. And it was a very important business because they wanted to start this operation here in Asia. And they flew me to Washington, D.C. to meet the CEO. Right? I went all the way there, so you can imagine, right? You know, the number of hours flight you get there, reach there at 2 a.m. in the morning, you know, and then you're scheduled to meet the CEO at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? There I went in, the appointment got shifted once, twice, and finally, I I got to see him at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mind you, I was flying out that evening at 8. So at 4 o'clock, I walked into his room. I had 1 hour. The secretary warned me I only had 1 hour with this boss. Guess what? In that 1 hour, span of 1 hour, he was interrupted 3 times by a phone call. All right, and this phone call came from none other than his broker. He was trading on the market. And I had hardly 5 minutes of conversation with him. And at the end of the whole thing, he says, Oliver, would you take the job? I looked at him and say, I think this is a great opportunity for me, but I need to go back and discuss with my wife. I flew back, and then I end up with another 3 to 4 conversations with the HR, my worldwide executive VP. Each conversation took 2 to 3 hours, and I eventually turned out the job. Because I believed in myself, right? If I'm going to work for somebody who couldn't be bothered with me, and he spends his time working about what's the price of the share and stocks he's going to sell and buy, then he's not going to have time with me. I guess it's a different piece compared to what Bruno was saying, right? What I think is more important is your belief in yourself and what you want to achieve. There are times whereby you know staying on makes sense. Because at the end of that 1 year, 2 year, that you stuck up with a very difficult boss, you can walk away the winner. Because you can learn how to deal with the difficult stuff. I had one opportunity to work for another very difficult Portuguese leader who's very loud, right? Never say anything that you don't run through with him. But at the end of the day, I learned a lot on what to say, what not to say. There's always a reason why a boss wants to do certain things certain ways. And most of the time it's because he had certain experience. It may or may not apply into Asia, it may not apply into your current life or the current situation, but there's something you can learn. Walk away with that learning, and that will make you a lot better person. Believe in yourself, and make sure in any difficult situation, walk away learning something. Back to you.
Thank you. The two of you, anything you want to add? Why?
Okay, I think what makes it more difficult is when your boss are talking behind you. And I had that experience in 2008, where I had a lady boss who didn't like me and talked behind me. And what I did was, initially it was very, very difficult. And eventually what I did was, I learned to guard my heart. I have to guard my heart not to hate her. I have to guard my heart not to talk behind her. And I set myself apart in my attitude. I learned to submit to her because she is put in authority over me, and no matter what, she is my boss, and I have to learn to work with her. And I learned to be more sensitive towards her. I learned not to provoke her in what I say, what I do. So in that way, I managed to win her over.
Got it. Wow, this is interesting. Something that we don't hear a lot, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think from my perspective in networking, there's something which I learned from one of my stronger influences. He taught me this thing which I will never forget. He says, become that person that you expect others to be.
Again, can you repeat that?
Become the person that you expect him to be. So sometimes in business or in our relationship with people, we tend to have expectations. We set expectations, right? And then we find that we're disappointed, easily disappointed. And for me, I am someone who is quite a perfectionist before, not now. Before I was really, really a straightforward guy. I am an achiever, and I can't stand it when people are slower. So I realized that when I came out of corporate and became an entrepreneur, I couldn't stand a lot of people. They're either too slow or they just cannot make it, you know. So, so when I became a director, I found that I had to deal with so many kinds of different personalities with different backgrounds. Some are smarter because they are overseas trained, they can speak at the same level as you, they want things fast. Oh, we're good. And then there are those who say, huh, what did you say? Please repeat again. And then you get so impatient. So I realized that I have to first change myself when I meet with difficult people. Sometimes it's not because they're difficult, they're just very different. It could be insecurities, it could be that they have something which they expect from you and you're not there. Or they're very disappointed with you. So there are times when I form groups, I also have difficulties forming groups. They collapse after a couple of months and they have a lot of misunderstandings. They think that I'm the culprit, they think that I'm to blame. No, but there's no one to blame. Blame the director, okay? Because he's in charge anyway. So that's where I start to realize that I must change, even though I may not be someone you like. I'm fast, I'm straightforward. I have to now become very understanding and slow down and say, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, you know. So I learned, especially from Dale Carnegie, I was also a Dale Carnegie graduate. So I realized that I need to learn to appreciate, you know, say something that will let the other person that I noticed I care. So for example, if you come in and I notice that you're tired, I say, hey, you look tired today, what happened? I'll start off with that so that at least they know I touched their heart, I understand, you know. And it is something like a habit which I have to acquire because it's not me. So depending on your personality, you have to change yourself to make yourself a different person, a person that people would like to know, like to have, a good friend, an approachable person. And I have to go a long way, seriously, because I am such a super, I'm on my own all the time. I'm not so much of a team player, but a team leader. I tell you, you do. You know, but now I've got to say, so how shall we do it, huh? And then if there's anything I say and they say no, I say, okay, let's see what you can do. And you want to do something, you can do. As long as all the roads lead to Rome is okay, you can do it.
Okay, that's I have a lot of leaders in this room today. I think at least about 50% are managing people. And I think when it comes to managing people, right, one thing that we need or we are lacking is patience. Agree? Like, how do we become patient? I mean, even parents, how do we become patient with your kids? Or how do we become patient with other people's kids? Have you ever had the chance where you call your friends and your friends put the kid on the phone instead and let the kid talk to you instead, right? So how do you become patient? Is there a way?
You know, Eric,
Yes.
you brought a very interesting case, right? To talk about managing people,
Yep.
right, and having a difficult boss is one part of the equation. The difficult situation is where you are managing and you've got a bosses to manage, and you're sandwiched in between. So then you may have a difficult situation upwards and downwards. That makes it a lot more complex. So when you move further into a career and you get into mid-level, how do you deal with a situation whereby you have a very difficult boss and a bunch of set of team members who probably may not be able to appreciate? That difficult situation is sometimes so difficult to handle that it can get you turned out very stressful and you lose your cool. Well, this is where sometimes managing upwards is a very interesting concept. When I was young as you know, going into university, right, I was quite puzzled by some of the management activities. I came across this one book which I think is really out of print now. It says How to Manage Management. It runs through different ideas around how do you deal with the boss and how do you deal with, you know, your team. Well, if you go to Amazon.com, you probably may be able to get a used copy for a low-cost price. I can't guarantee the courier service. But it's a very useful book. It gives you a lot of tips around what you can or should not do and some useful ideas how to kind of deal with that difficult situation. But the sandwich difficulty that you face upwards and downwards can be quite challenging.
Got it. Any other one want to offer any insights? If not, I'm going to pass back to the floor. Maybe let's hear from you guys. We still have a bit of time, short amount of time. Yes, sir. Can you pass the microphone to this gentleman? Could you introduce yourself and so that we know who you are?
Hi, my name is Jack. I just have one question for the panel. Now, we know that judgment is being made on a person in the first 10 seconds, about 80% of the time. Once they see you, they probably make a judgment on you. Now, how do you make the best of the time in the first 10 seconds?
Brilliant question. First impression, how do we win a person over in 10 seconds?
I think first impressions, if you want to make the best of it, lies in the word present. What's that? Present, present. I think there's two meanings, or in fact, three meanings around it. If in the first 10 seconds you want to make the best impact that you could, Jack, is to be first, to be present. We live in such a world that there's so much distraction. You have your mobile phones, you have your Blackberries. I've seen so many networking functions when people are talking, but at the midst of it, they're checking on their WhatsApp, they're checking on their phones. So I think if you really want to make the first impression, your whole being has to be present, looking at the person as if for that 10 seconds or that 10 minutes, he's the most important person. The second thing I think is to present yourself well. And I think that is in your grooming, in the way you speak, in the way you have that aroma about you. I think that's a really important thing. And the third thing is to think of a present. I think our friend Joseph had mentioned about it. Think in that first 10 seconds, is there an opportunity that you have a present for the person? Not so much of a contact, maybe that takes a lot more, but whether it's an opportunity for you, look as you observe in the first 10 seconds, something that you can observe and give a compliment to that person. I think that would be the first best 10 seconds of you could, to be present, to present yourself well, and to give a present. I hope that's useful.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Anybody else? Yes, we'll take one question from Norman, and then we'll take with you, sir. Yes, Norman.
Yeah, I have a simple question. So one of the things that really interests me, right, I'm sure you all have a lot of experience, but one of the things that interests me about connecting with influencers, right, is that most of the time influencers always have inner circle. Do you all have any experience where you actually break through into inner circle?
How do you break through a person's inner circle?
In BNI, we do talk about the inner circle, and that's where the C comes in. You meet a lot of people, the V, and the C comes in where you found common interest. You found there's a way you could work together, or you found that you are of the similar thinking, or you are, you like to play football, you like to drink, you like to have a good meal, and you want to bring each other to another network, So that's where the inner circle comes in. In my context, in BNI, I have 6 chapters, and in our rule, we say that within a chapter, you support yourself. But as a director, I'm not a member. How to support 6 chapters and they support me? I can't be unfair to one consultant here and neglect the other. So I say to them, I form my inner circle. I work with those who are at my level. But I don't tell them that way. I tell only a few people, hey, you are in my inner circle. So if a lawyer I need, there are 3 lawyers, there are 4 lawyers in my 5 chapters or 6 chapters. I work with the lawyer that brings me the referral, that wants to work with me. He will say, Joseph, I got a referral for you. Oh, great. So he is coming forward to say, I want to work with you. He is in my inner circle.
So, but just to cut you in a bit, but so from your point of view is that, since I can't join them, I form my own group, right? But I think one of the reasons why we want to get in inner circle is because we want to be like them. We want to upgrade, right? So if I really want to penetrate, how do I do it? Yes, Jin Hui.
Yeah, I'll just share one story. I was actually required in HR to make some presentations to our foreign clients. So I was shocked at the point in time. I was like, why does HR got to do with customers in the first place? But that's a real eye-opener for me. So I had to present to a Thai delegate and a Malaysian delegate. So if I could just answer the earlier 2 questions in one answer, is this. Number one, we need to establish as much similarities as possible. So I kind of searched Google and what are some of the usual greetings. So in the Thai delegate, right, I was really, really nervous, but I just started by putting my hands together and say Sawadee Krap. And that kind of thing really broke the ice. And everything went really well. And as I reflected, right, whatever was presented was nothing really revolutionary. Nothing really out of this world. But yet it built so much rapport with them simply because I've chosen to speak in their language, or at least attempt to speak in their language. The second thing about the inner circle is this. As I presented to those delegates, right, it's very clear who is the leader of the group. It could be the managing director, it could be the regional vice president, whoever it may be. But I chose to ensure that my attention span and my eye contact is not just focused on the leader of the delegation. It is spread adequately across, at least to those who are seated about 2 or 3 seats next to the leader of the delegation. And when that happens, it is a very powerful tool, I realize, because it sends the signal that we pay attention not only to just the leader, but also to the rest of the members of the group. It shows that kind of respect, and the rapport was amazing. So at the end of one presentation to the Malaysian delegate, the HR director, who is not the leader of the group, it was the managing director, was the leader, came to me and said, hey, Mr. Lee, can I actually have some of your slides? I said, no problem, Abang. Whatever you need, I give to you. So after that, a lot of things that we require from that client, I did it through the HR director, and things went pretty smoothly. So I guess that is one way that I have actually approached, and probably it works and use some dividends by getting through to the HR director, who is very much a trusted advisor to the managing director, and things work pretty well from there.
Eric,
yes, please.
Just let me give a short comment to that. Actually, to break in the inner circle, my suggestion is really look at 2 particular elements. Firstly, sincerity. All right, you have to be sincere. Don't dress up in pink or purple just because the group dress up in pink or purple. Right? Demonstrate sincerity, and I believe that actually to break into a difficult group, it's easier than to break into a difficult individual. Why is that the case? Because now you have the average of the 4 or 5 in the inner group that you have to deal with, not one strong individual. Someone inside a group will eventually say, hey, give Oliver a chance. Secondly is patience. If you are seriously considering being part of that group, you have to go through the test. You have to be patient. Along with sincerity, work on showing the inner group that you seriously want to be part of them. So sincerity, patience, I think those are 2 good elements to consider.
Got it. And we'll go with YY, and then we'll take the last question, and then we'll wrap up. All right, come, YY.
Okay, for myself, I do build inner circles. And who are the people I would choose to be in my inner circles are people whom I can trust. Not people with talents, not people who are beautiful, but people whom I can trust. There are 2 groups of people. One is people who are always asking, what can I gain out of helping you? What are my entitlements? What will I be rewarded? There are a second group of people who are constantly asking you, what can I do to help you to achieve your dream? How can I serve your vision? And these people are not looking at their own rewards. They are looking at how they can grow in helping you. And I will look for those kind of people, the second group of people.
Got it. So it's from another perspective, which is not about penetrating, but creating your inner circle. And it's not about just looking for people who are powerful, but looking for people that you can trust. Because ultimately, you will still become powerful, right? All right, sir, we'll take your question, and then we'll have a short break, and you guys get access to them, all right? Okay, come. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Donald Chong from Financial Planning Association.
Hi, Donald.
I'm representing Financial Planning Association of Singapore. I'm a volunteer there. I have got my own business, independent financial planning services. I've just flew back from Sydney attending a congress of Financial Planning Association of Australia. And they have a very interesting dialogue there on the moral courage in leadership. And Eric, you have mentioned that charisma is actually a double-edged sword. We can use it either way. And so my question to the panelists is, as rightfully leaders in businesses, what are your views on moral courage in leadership?
So what's your view on moral courage in leadership? Now that's pretty big question.
Yes, I think it's a worldwide issue because of the Lehman Brothers crisis, and trust have been lost, or at least rattled.
Probably I'll reframe your question a bit, and that is, I think we mentioned trust quite a bit, right? That ultimately likability is what gets you interacting with that person, but trust is what keeps the relationship going. So my question to all of you is, to you guys is, how do I, number one, build trust with the people that matters? That's one. And is there any way that I can win back trust if I lose it? So you can either one, and then we'll take final wrap-up comments, and then we'll call it a day. Ronald, would you want to start?
I think trust is a combination of different things. One, credibility. Second, likability. And then divided by self-interest. That if you really want to build trust with people, you first have to work on your credibility, then the likability, and then you got to divide it by this whole sense of self-interest. If someone that you work with sense that you have the self-interest, you have your own ulterior motives to build trust with someone, you would have lost the impact, no matter how you come across as likable or credible. And I think that's something that you really have to work through and understand that. In terms of my experience as a leader, back to some of the elements, I think, in fact, one of my ex-staff is now present in the room, and I had a challenge when I started managing him early on in 2006. And this was someone that has been in the firm for about 10 years, but still staying in the same rank where she is. And I took it upon myself as a leader to say, then what's really important for this person after 10 years? It's progression, it's development. And how do I, as a leader, then, I won't call it moral courage, but I think it's a responsibility to develop the person and help them achieve the potential and gain their trust. And I do it in different ways. One of the most important ways, I think, is in role modeling. If you want to build trust with your staff, you have to role model the right behaviors and role model in such a way that she will learn how to develop herself as she sees you developing yourself. And I did in very simple ways. Whenever I have a conference that I have to speak on or attend, all that I do is just bring her along. I don't have to do too much. And she would have to see me in action, she would see other distinguished leaders in action, and hopefully through some form of osmosis, she'll pick up some of these elements. And the other thing is visibility. And I started giving her roles that I could have done very well myself, but it doesn't benefit me because at the end of the day, in some ways I've done it before. So you start to delegate and you start to give her these options of visibility, and slowly you see the confidence shine and you see a different light around the person. The long and short of it, I was very fortunate. Within 2 years, she was promoted to associate director. And we have done that. You have gained the trust of this person forever. And through the reorganization, there are moments, and in fact, right now, she doesn't report to me anymore. But you know what? The title and the position no longer matters. This person is yours because you have proven yourself, both on the credibility and likability, but more importantly, she does not see any self-interest. That your intentions is to develop and see the best in that person.
Thank you for giving out a mathematical equation. That was really good. That was awesome. We'll send it to you guys. Yes?
Maybe I'll just do a little final comment. Eric's right to say that I had been the president of the Computing Alumni for the last decade. I stepped down this year, actually. One reason is because there's just too much to do. But incidentally, I also picked up a different role. Currently, I'm the president of Singapore Industrial Automation Association. So in that, I actually work very closely with Spring and MTI in general. Yesterday, I was fortunate to attend a Business Excellence Award ceremony hosted by Spring, and there were about probably 800 people inside there. And the award winners went up there to receive their awards. And like any Grammy Award, the CEO gets a chance to do a little speech. So I just want to share with you two little episodes that took place. One of the business leaders went up there. He spoke, but perhaps not very good English, full of sincerity. At the end of that speech, he went down to his 4 tables and he toasted with every single employee. You can see the trust. You can see how much they supported him. He went to every single employee and established the relationship, the connection with them. The second CEO who went up there to pick up the award gave his speech. He had a drafted speech. He had all the right thing to say. He had perfect eloquence, right? At the end of his speech, he went down. His people came to him to congratulate him and then went back to sit in a chair. Now you tell me which one has got the trust. One focuses on KPIs. What gets measured gets done, right? It's just a professional job. The other one touches the heart. And that really will make a difference in the 21st century.
Wow, thank you, Oliver, for that. And in tradition, I like to sum up what we have learned. I hope you guys have been taking notes. I've seen the front row. You guys basically can write a thesis already. All right, so I have a picture in my mind, and I'm sure Benjamin later on will reinforce that. And that is, at the end of the day, it's about how do we connect upwards, downwards, and sideways, right? Upwards to our bosses. There are 3 tips I've learned. Number 1, you got to know your boss's KPI and help him achieve his KPI. Help him look good so that he will help you look good. So I think that was one I've picked up from the person. Number 2 is, you got to learn how to speak their lingo. And that means that it's based on knowledge. So KPI, knowledge. You got to have knowledge about a person so that you can build similarity and KPI. Last but not least, if you deal with difficult bosses and there's really nothing to like about that person, then go and look inwards and ask yourself, what's your goal in life? If there is something that you can learn from that person, and by the way, you can learn from anyone. Do you know even a spoiled clock is right twice a day? Right? So therefore you can learn from everyone. And I think that was something I picked up, learning opportunity. So that's upwards. Downwards to our people, for those of you who are leaders, I think number 1, we got to learn how to empathize. We are blessed with the skills to be where we are, but that doesn't make us grand. We need to step down and walk among their shoes. So empathy, I really love present. Number 1, being present to that person. Number 2, presenting yourself well. And number 3, always find a way to present something, right? So that was downwards. In terms of sideways to everyone, I think it's about learning how to love people, learning to be generous with people, and helping people achieve their dreams. I think that's one of the best ways to connect with people. Throw stones at their enemy and support their dreams. And I think last but not least, I want to end off with the inner circle, which is yourself, I feel. That ultimately, people are people. You should not undermine yourself just because they are powerful. You have your own self-worth as well. And you should pick people who appreciate you for who you are. You do not, if they don't accept you in the inner circle, I like what your spirit say, create your own inner circle and attract people who are like you, who you trust to join you. So ultimately, it's not just about loving people, it's about loving yourself. So I think that was a brilliant conversation. I hope you guys have fun with these people. Thank you for joining us in the living room. Let's give it a big round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, thank you.